The marketplace hums with life. Vendors shout out prices. Children weave through the crowd, and the scent of fresh spices lingers in the air. Daniel walks slowly through the chaos, his mind unusually quiet. He watches the world unfold around him, the glint of sunlight on brass pots, the laughter of strangers, the movement of 100 different lives crossing paths. But something feels off. Even after realizing that the mind is not a fixed thing, a deeper question lingers within him. If my mind creates my experience, then what is actually real? As he walks past a stall selling ornate silk scarves, Daniel suddenly freezes. A familiar face appears in the crowd. His heart races. It can't be. His old friend, someone he hasn't seen in years, stands just a few feet away, turns slightly to the side. "Michael," Daniel whispers under his breath, stepping forward. But as he moves closer, the figure turns fully into view. It's not Michael, just a stranger wearing a similar jacket, with a vaguely familiar posture. A rush of confusion hits Daniel. For a moment, I was certain it was him, but certainty had meant nothing. His mind had tricked him. His feet find their way back to the monastery. Ajahn Suriya is already waiting. The monk sits near a wooden table, slowly pouring tea. Without looking up, he speaks. "You have a question." Daniel hesitates. "Yes. If my mind is just a process, then how do I know what is real?" Ajahn Suriya gestures toward the teapot. "Tell me, Daniel, what is this?" Daniel blinks. "A teapot." The monk nods. "And if a blind man were here, what would it be to him?" Daniel frowns. "Just a shape, something he touches." Ajahn Suriya sets the teapot down. "Then which is true, the teapot you see or the teapot he feels?" Daniel opens his mouth, then closes it. They are both true, and yet neither is absolute. The monk leans forward. "In Buddhism, we speak of two truths. Conventional truth is the world as we experience it, tables, teapots, people. But ultimate truth is beyond perception. Nothing is fixed, nothing is separate." He gestures toward the table. "This table, where is its reality? Is it in the wood, the nails, the empty space beneath it?" Daniel studies it. "It's all of those things together." Ajahn Suriya nods. "Exactly. The table exists conventionally. We use it, name it. But ultimately, it is only a collection of parts, constantly changing." Daniel exhales. "So, everything is like that?" The monk smiles. "Yes, we take fragments of reality and build a world in our minds. But in truth, nothing has an independent existence." Daniel looks around. The monastery walls, the sky above, his own hands. They all feel different now. Less solid, less separate. Ajahn Suriya lifts a single leaf and holds it between his fingers. "This leaf, you see green. A butterfly sees ultraviolet. Which color is real?" Daniel stares at the leaf. "Neither, or both." The monk smiles. "Now you begin to see." The monk places the leaf on the table. "Science tells us that what you see is not reality itself. Your brain receives electrical signals from your eyes, interprets them, and creates an image. But the image exists only in your mind." Daniel furrows his brow. "So I don't actually see the world? I see what my brain constructs?" Ajahn Suriya nods. "Yes. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Buddha taught long ago. Our perception is a filtered interpretation, not an objective reality." The monk gestures toward the sky. "The stars you see are light from the past. Some of them no longer exist. Yet your mind tells you they are there. Which is real, the light you perceive, or the truth that they may be gone?" Daniel is silent. He thinks of the marketplace, the voices, the colors, the movement. His senses gave him a world that felt real, but was it only a mental construction? The monk continues, "Your brain fills in gaps. Have you ever read a sentence with missing letters and still understood it?" Daniel nods. Ajahn Suriya places his hand over his eye. "There is a blind spot in your vision, yet your brain fills in the gap. You never notice it. Your mind is not showing you the world. It is showing you an interpretation of the world." Daniel exhales. If even his own perception could not be trusted, what was left? Daniel hesitates. That reminds me of something. I used to have this childhood memory of getting lost in a shopping mall. I remember the feeling of panic the moment my mother found me. He looks down. But last year, my mother told me it never happened. She swears I was never lost. She says I told the story so many times I convinced myself it was real. Ajahn Suriya watches him. "And how do you feel, knowing the memory is false?" Daniel exhales. "Like my past isn't as solid as I thought. Like I can't even trust my own mind." The monk nods. "Exactly. The brain doesn't store memories like a recording. Every time you recall something, you reconstruct it. And each time, it changes slightly." Daniel looks up. "So even the past is an illusion?" Ajahn Suriya tilts his head. "Everything you remember, everything you believe, is filtered through the mind. If even your past shifts and changes, what is truly real?" A breeze moves through the trees, rustling the leaves like whispered secrets. Ajahn Suriya sets the leaf down and asks, "When you dream, does it feel real?" Daniel nods. "Yes, until I wake up." The monk tilts his head. "And how do you know you are not dreaming now?" A chill runs down Daniel's spine. "I don't." Ajahn Suriya's eyes soften. "That is why the Buddha taught us not to cling to appearances. The world is like a dream, not unreal, but not as solid as we believe." Daniel exhales. Everything he has ever known, everything he has ever held on to, it is all shifting, impermanent. For the first time, he doesn't try to grasp at answers. He simply lets the question remain. And now, ask yourself, how do you know what is real? Are you seeing reality as it is, or only what your mind allows you to see? If even your past is unreliable, what is left to hold on to? Are you ready to wake up